Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy. With me today is one of my closest, dearest friends, transformation goddess, Shann Vander Leek. We're going to be talking about why now is the perfect time to learn how to reclaim your voice and revel in your feminine sovereignty. Shann mentors women through life-altering transformation with her signature coaching offerings, podcasts, books, and digital programs. Unconventional and delightfully curious, she is, as I shared, a world-renowned transformation goddess, lifelong media expert, voiceover talent, best-selling author, and award-winning podcaster. Shann has invested many years into deep personal development, spiritual study, healing work, and has established herself as an expert in the field of personal transformation. Shann and I go way back. God, before Aspire was a digital mag, I turned to Shann for her wisdom. Back when it was a print mag, to share her wisdom with my audience. We've had many sacred conversations, and I have to tell you, as you're about to discover, this is a woman who walks her walk. So welcome, Shann.
Thank you, Linda. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
You and I always have so much fun when we're together, whether it's taping a show or just having one of our weekly calls. I always love your vibe and energy.
And I feel the same. I feel very, very blessed that we've been doing our thing together in circle and in friendship for, gosh, I think it's been since 2009 at least.
Yeah,
so
at least.
It's been wonderful. Yeah.
And I've been one of your greatest supporters, so that's why when I found out everything you have going on now, which I'm blessed to be a part of, because we'll be talking about an event you're doing that I'm a sponsor for. But when I saw the topic, Shann, about teaching women how to reclaim their voices and speak their truth, I was like, yes. So why don't we start there? Because this is what you teach, right? So
yes.
Let's dive into the conversation.
Oh, I'd love to. I think the best place to begin is to bring forward that many of us were conditioned when we were young that it wasn't safe to speak our truth. And over the years or in your own home environment, you may have heard the phrase, children are to be seen and not heard, or you may have been raised to only speak when spoken to. This kind of conditioning often causes children to withdraw because what they have to say doesn't seem to be important, or because they think it's safer to be quiet. It takes the fear out of being hurt or the fear out of being pushed aside. And so basically, what we learned back then when we were children was to play by the rules of the house or the rules of the school or wherever this came about to remain safe. Unfortunately, what happens is the need to withdraw in childhood continues into our adulthood because of that patterning and conditioning. We go from needing to withdraw as a child to being withdrawn as a teen, as an adult, and then afraid of our voice and fearful of being shut down, ignored, or belittled. Can you relate to that at all? Or?
Oh, yeah, baby. Yeah, I think what we're taught and pick up in our childhood home, even if it wasn't told to us, it's like a quiet message. And from our conversations, that's why I'm so aware of giving my granddaughter a voice who's 5, letting her be heard, having her feelings and thoughts matter. It's because when I was a child, I didn't have that, and I know how important it is. And again, Shann, that's why what you're doing, the work you're doing in the world, I just value so much, and I'm happy to share.
Oh, thank you so much. And it's been really an interesting journey because, as you know, I've been doing some form of voice work now for over 25 years, and that led to podcasting and interviewing, which led to voice training and podcast coaching, which led to this aha moment of, oh, here's another way you can help women find their voice. Let's talk about how we lose it to begin with and how to regain it and the steps to take to come back into that place and to be heard, to know that what you have to say matters and is important, and that we can work together to continually improve that and to help you be heard, and which is such a beautiful way to do so when you're in a radio conversation like this or a podcast interview or what have you. It really helps us work on rebuilding our voice.
And it's so funny because I remember giggling when, you've been in my life for so long. And in fact, Shann is the voice behind all my brands, right? That's her voice you hear on the commercials and many other things. You're right. You've always given others a voice through your services, but this ties both of your loves together, giving them a voice, but also the feminine, right? The goddess stuff.
Yes.
It's
right.
like, wow, the merging of your two gifts, your sacred gifts, and it was also natural because it's truth.
It is truth. And if it's okay with you, what I'd like to do is talk about some of the steps we can take to reclaim our voice and speak our truth.
I would love that, Shann, please.
Okay. Well, the very first thing that you can do is to acknowledge that you've been quiet to keep the peace, to really explore where you've been giving your power away to make sure everyone around you is happy. I don't know about you, Linda, but I see a lot of women closing their mouths and stepping back in order to keep the peace.
Oh, yeah. I've done it too. I've done it too.
Yeah. And this is where you get introspective and say, okay, where am I doing this? How am I allowing other people to take advantage of me? Am I enabling others? Am I not asking for help? To explore all of this in the situation, knowing that you're not a victim, that you can make a change here, but that keeping quiet may not have always served you well. Certainly there are times when we should keep our mouths shut. It's usually when I don't. But more often than not, that beautiful, still inner voice of yours needs to come shining through, needs to be heard. So there's some exploration to do there, and to do it with love and compassion, not to be hard on yourself, but to just identify it.
Well, I'm so glad that you said that, not to be hard on yourself, because that was my first response as I was starting to shift things.
Yeah, I bet. I remember when I was, I don't remember what age it was, doesn't really matter, but for a really long time as a young person, even though it may have been a wiser choice at some points to keep my mouth shut, the nature of my personality and my being is not to keep my mouth shut. And so I would often get in trouble for speaking out of turn and would continue to do so. And I'm not sure why I didn't stuff it down. And maybe it's because I needed to do this work today to be able to look back and say, okay, here's what happened. And certainly I got in a lot of trouble when I didn't stuff it down in some cases. I had a 100% clear voice in my home with my mom who raised me. But when I was visiting my dad, I didn't have as much of a voice as far as, I think I just really wanted to get his attention.
Which I think so many of us do, especially when it's a parent living outside the household.
Yeah. And so for a long time, I remember really walking around on eggshells with him not to get a reaction, and that just really depended on the day. And then there were other days where I wanted a reaction, and so I got it in any way I possibly could with my voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, even if it was, you mean like confrontational, that kind?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever way you could get it, you wanted that attention, which we all do.
I did. Exactly. And so these are stories to look at in your own life, where you're being quiet, where you have been giving your power away, and just take note of it and start working on it. The second area is to uncover the first time you learned that it wasn't safe to speak or that it wasn't acceptable for you to share your truth. This is such a great thing to be journaling about. All of these questions that I have for you today, all of these steps. Do some journaling. Think about it. What came up for me is my third grade teacher, Mrs. Hess, decided to label me as motor mouth.
Whoa.
And she would make fun of me and call me motor mouth and have me stand in the corner. But again, even though I can remember that, and even though that stung, and there was some embarrassing moments within that life of a third grader, I still didn't stop.
Ooh, that's funny. So it didn't stifle it.
It didn't stifle it, but it did teach me that children are to be seen and not heard, or to be, that it's not okay to speak unless you're spoken to. And so because of my rebel nature, I got in a lot of trouble in third grade for being a motor mouth. Right. But again, that's when I learned, I'm going to be labeled. I'm going to have to go stand in a corner. This is not okay for me to show up in this big energy that I have. So for me, the voice didn't stop as much as I tampered my energy.
Exactly. And we can all relate in some way, whether it was a relative or something. We all, I believe, have moments like that, because I think a lot of it's unconscious by the person doing it. So it just keeps getting perpetuated. So when we come back from our first break, Shann, let's dive into some more of the processes. And it's like journal prompts, as you shared, to help women who are in the throes of finding their voice. And I'll be back in a moment with Shann Vander Leek of GoddessTalkSessions.com.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm Linda Joy, and today we're talking about why now is the perfect time to learn how to reclaim your voice and revel in your feminine sovereignty. With me today is Shann Vander Leek of GoddessTalkSessions.com. So, Shann, you shared that, one of the ways is to acknowledge a period of time where we've been quieted. And number two was uncover when we realized that first time that it wasn't safe to speak. And you shared some examples from your own life. What are some of the other processes you use to help women who are in the throes of finding their voices?
Well, I think that giving yourself permission to use your voice and trust your inner knowing is a big piece. Sometimes we can do this by writing our truth in a journal or speaking it to ourselves. and really asking, what does the one in me that wants to be heard have to say? And then free flow your answer. What does the one in me that wants to be heard have to say? And to continue giving yourself permission to use your voice. And for some people, this is not very difficult at all once they start to practice. And for others, it is more difficult, and it does take time, and that's okay.
So when I hear that question, I feel like I'm talking to my soul, basically, right? It's
Yes.
really that your inner truth.
Right.
I love that. What does the one in me? I'm writing this down. Want to say. And that's powerful because I felt the moment you said it, Shann, that I was automatically dropping from my head, which is shoulds, woulds, and musts, into my heart.
Good. The other piece I think that we need to bring forward that has been a topic of conversation for you and I, Linda, many, many times, is noticing your inner critic. He or she will be the one that tells you to keep your mouth shut, that says you'll say it wrong, you'll fail, they won't listen. What do you really have to say that's so important? And I want to really impress upon all of our listeners today that please know that these are voices of the past. They are not voices of the present moment, and they no longer serve you, and they do not keep you safe. This is some trickery. We want to notice that voice. We want to become aware of that voice. In some cases, we can make friends with that voice by saying, "Thank you for looking out for me, but that story is no longer true." Or, "Thank you for bringing that to my attention. That's an old story." Or sometimes my inner critic, I ask to, sit down, and it's time for you to sit down and be quiet because I have something to say.
I love that. So you're having a conversation with your inner critic.
Right, right. And again, depending on your makeup, you can do this by writing. You can do this by just thinking. You can have these moments where all of a sudden that voice chatter comes up and will say something negative about whatever it is I might be doing, or will warn me about something. And I'll think, oh, isn't that interesting? There that is again. And just by having that, just by noticing it, just by being aware of it, it takes some of the charge away.
Because you brought it to your conscious. It's not a script running in the back sabotaging you, because I believe the moment you bring it into your consciousness, you have the choice, and you are making the choice, listen to it or not listen to it. But it's empowering because you have the choice now.
Yeah, you really do. It's really incredibly important to continue to remind yourself that even though I've been quiet for a better part of my adult life, I love and accept myself. Even though I've been quiet to keep the peace, I love and accept myself. These are, you might notice, setup statements for emotional freedom technique or EFT tapping that give you some sense of sweetness through this process of reclamation, because we can be so unbelievably hard on ourselves. We have expectations, but if you haven't been practicing speaking your truth, if you haven't been practicing this powerful choice to share your experiences and what's important to you, and not from what somebody else has to say, then you're in that space of being new to it. Let yourself be new to it. It's okay.
It's like giving yourself permission with what is, instead of judging it in every moment, which when I first started noticing, I struggled with that. I was always judging. Oh my God, you're having another one of those thoughts. The more aware I became, the more I noticed how many of those thoughts I was having, right? And then I was, at the beginning, and this is going back over 20 years, I found myself in that self-judgment mode. And I had to heal that part too, going, no, it's there not for you to judge, but for you to clear. And then that helped me shift my thinking. Did you go through that too?
Absolutely. The clearing part is so important. Each of us are different, and our experiences are different. But once you can identify where these triggers are and what needs to be cleared, then you've just come so far. And you just keep working at it. It's a lifelong process this clearing and reminding ourselves that our mind is not in charge. Our mind is a tool. Do not believe everything you think.
And one of the things I did, Shann, too, is I had to look for certain words, because when you're first becoming aware of the inner critic, it's like almost like learning a foreign language, right? It's trying to decipher, well, is this from my inner critic or is this my truth? So I used to have ticklers. Like if I said the word must, should, have to, I realized I wasn't speaking from my desires, that it was old programming, and then I got to choose if I wanted to carry that on. But I had to look for these words that listen to yourself and your friends, right? How many times women use those words, which is disempowering.
Yeah, should is one of my least favorite words.
Yeah, and have to. I like to say I get to.
Look at how that shifts the energy.
Yeah, like someone says, oh, I have to go grocery shopping. I got to go get all my errands. I'm like, no, you get to. Some people don't even get a chance to go to the grocery store because they might not have the finances, or you have a vehicle to get there. It's like this whole mindset shift that completely helps you shift. Well, it helps me shift anyway, in my case, right out of it. And those are the three words, phrases that I had to really catch myself on, because I didn't realize how often I said them.
Yeah, and again, that's that awareness piece. As soon as we become aware of the language in our minds, the language of our inner critic, the language of our past, there might be language from other people that pops up. It's not even yours. You can trace it back, and once you start to do that, isn't that interesting that that's coming out? That's something I like to say is, isn't that interesting? Where did that come from? And then you're in that place of curiosity and exploration versus taking it to the a negative place where it doesn't serve you well at all.
Exactly. So it's like re-scripting.
Yeah, it really is. And that leads me to the next step, which is practice expressing yourself. There's a popular quote that says, learn to use your voice even if your voice shakes, or learn to speak your truth even if your voice shakes. And I don't know who to give credit to for that, but it's something along those lines. And this is where we start small. We start small expressing ourselves. We start small saying no thank you when we're asked to do something or that we really don't want to do that we would normally say yes to. Or we start small by, I like to use the example of when you go out to a restaurant and you order some food and it doesn't come the way that you ordered it. The side dish is different, or the meat isn't prepared properly, or whatever the issue may be. A lot of us just accept it, eat it, pay for it, and leave. Instead of doing that, finding your voice and saying, thank you, but I noticed that this isn't the way that I ordered it. Can you please take it back and get it right? Something that small is a huge step forward. Instead of just being like, okay, well, I guess I'll just take this the way that it is. I don't want to cause any problem. I want to keep the peace. I don't want to upset the server. I don't want to, you know what I mean?
I'm laughing because I can think of numerous times that I ate burnt steak tips or, didn't get gravy with my meal, and I was quiet about it over the years. And now I'm not. But that just brought up times like, why do we do that? Like we're not worthy of having something the way we ordered. I see that over and over again, just the restaurant example that you gave.
Yeah, it happens all the time. It's for a long time, because of my nature, because I want things the way that I ordered them, I've never been shy about asking for that. But I've been with people who look at me like, like they're uncomfortable. I've made them uncomfortable.
Which is it shows you what their script is.
Exactly. It's just really interesting. And if we look at this as more of an exercise in learning, I like to look at things often as a science experiment. Okay, I know I've been stuffing my voice down. As we went through these 5 steps, you realize I'm acknowledging this, that you've been keeping quiet to keep the peace. You learn more. You go to that place where you uncover the first time you learned that it wasn't safe. Then you give yourself permission to use your voice. Then you pay attention to your inner critic, and then again you start practicing expressing yourself. If you look at it that way, it becomes, okay, this doesn't have to be so heavy. This doesn't have to be so big. This is a step-by-step process for me to reclaim my voice that is of value.
I want to thank you because these 5 steps give our listeners something to start with. And we're going to jump to a break, but when we come back, I'm really excited because you have an opportunity for them to dive deeper into conversations like we're having here. And we're going to go to our break, everyone, and I'll be back in a moment with Shann Vander Leek of GoddessTalkSessions.com.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Are you being called to step into your truth and embrace your divinity? Are you ready to align your heart and soul, live an authentic life, and become a divine magnet for love and abundance? It's time to listen to your inner wisdom and clear the blocks holding you back from your best life. Leading intuitive prosperity coach, Akashic Records practitioner, and evidential medium Jamie Hearn of LiveYourDivinity.com empowers and supports spiritual women like you to align your inner and outer worlds, embrace your soul's truth, and live your divinity. Through her intuitive gifts, grounded wisdom, and empowered coaching, Jamie guides women back into sacred alignment with their truth. Visit LiveYourDivinity.com to learn more about Jamie's empowering programs and to schedule an Akashic record reading.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, you're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and with me today is Shann Vander Leek. So, Shann, right before the break, you shared the 5 processes that you use and guide women through who are in the throes of finding their voices. And I'm excited to have you here today because you have an event coming up that I'm honored. Aspire Magazine is a sponsor. I love this event. I'm so glad that you brought it back again this year. So tell us about it, Shann.
Oh, thank you. Well, this September, starting on September 18th, the Goddess Talk Sessions global event will begin. This is our 3rd annual event. And this year, the conversations are all about reclaiming your voice and speaking your truth. So every incredible, wise woman that came forward, teachers, artists, coaches, authors, they're sharing their personal journey of how they have reclaimed their voice. So just like what we talked about today, only from 16 different viewpoints, which I think is just amazing. And as you know, Linda, I absolutely love to create a safe container for women to share their stories and amplify their voices. And this event has surpassed my wildest expectations, with thousands of women stepping into the circle with us over the last 2 years. So I expect the 3rd year will be just as popular. And this is an event that's a little bit different than others, because these conversations are truly free-flowing conversations. They go where they go. I mean, there's some structure, of course, because there needs to be. But what comes through has been just astounding and so healing. We've had, I don't even know how many people write me to say thank you and share sweet words about their experience listening in.
I have to tell you, from the outside looking in, I'll tell you what it is. It's a level of intimacy. You create this safe container for your guests, and when they step into that circle, it's almost like they feel the safety, they feel the beautiful energy that you surround them with, and they just open. They share their vulnerabilities, their truth, their weaknesses, and their strengths in a way that when we're listening as guests, that we go, wow, I felt that too, but never had the courage to speak it. I felt that too, but never had the courage to change it, right? So that's what I receive, when I listen to it. So that's why I know, Shann, that your event touches so many lives. And I want to share a personal story that I forgot to tell you in our last chat. Sherry, who used to work for me way back before the print mag, we just saw each other last week, and she's at my house, and we're talking about all things goddess, and she says to me, oh my God, there's someone I just love who's in your audience, and I love everything she does because she's real, raw, and I'm like, who is it? She goes, Shann Vander Leek. And I said, Sherry, she's one of my dearest friends. She goes, Linda, I follow everything she does, and she's going to be doing her Goddess Talk sessions again. I'm going to be in, and I'm like, I just want you to know that your impact is everywhere. So we got a laugh out of it because she's like, oh, my God, I just love her. And what she loved, the words she used, Shann, were, you're so real, raw, and honest. Like they're real conversations. And see, that's what is missing for so many women. They don't have that depth of conversation with many people in their life. And when they tune in to what you offer, they're getting that. They're getting this soul part of them fed. So I thought I wanted to share that with you because I forgot to share when we last spoke.
Oh, thank you so much. That's such a beautiful, beautiful thing to hear. And how funny that somebody that you've been connected with for so long had no idea really of our personal connection beyond the work that we do together. So that's cool. I appreciate you sharing.
Oh, you're welcome. So tell us, what's the theme of this year's gathering, and what can women expect to come away with when they join you?
Sure. Well, the theme is all about reclaiming your feminine voice and speaking your truth. And there are 16 speakers, and each speaker comes with a beautiful, valuable, downloadable gift for all of our registrants. And what women are going to take away with is 16 different examples of how real women have learned to reclaim their own voices. Stories about their journeys, stories about when they realized it was time to flip the switch, stories about the difficulties and the triumphs in standing tall in their truth and sharing their voice however they've chosen to do so.
And for the women that you've brought together, and like I said, I'm honored to be a sponsor of this, you have women from really every walk of life, every background. And
I do.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the teachers that you have lined up for this fall.
Sure. Well, and one of the things I love to do is you'll notice that a lot of the speakers you may have not heard of before, and some you may have known forever. I like to have a really broad base of women that I talk to, and that includes their ages as well. I have, women as young as 25 years old and as wise as in their mid 50s, or early 60s, so that you get this range of life experience and conversation. So many women who said yes this year I have admired for a long time, and one is a good friend of mine. Her name is Ara Campbell, and she is an incredible young woman who is the host of the Goddess Circle. You may be aware of her on Facebook. Daniel Dulski, who is an incredible author and witchy woman who is soulful and powerful and incredibly cool. Amber Bonici. I'm not going to say her last name because I'll get it wrong, but Amber is so much fun, and I was a part of her Women Unleashed project, and I know that you've been a sponsor of that as well. And the list goes on and on. Jody Lilly, Lisa Adams, Lisbeth Cheever, Gesseman, who is the host and incredible artist of She Who Is, Mal Duane, and the list goes on and on. Tanya Penny, Michelle Beltran. I don't know if these are names you know. And Bryna, our good friend and editor, Bryna, is stepping into the spotlight this year to share her voice, and she's always had this incredible knack at sharing her voice through her writing, but now she's really stepping into both voice and writing. So these women are entrepreneurs, they're authors, they're writers, they're artists, they're goddesses, they're witches, they represent all of us. They represent all of the many archetypes that we all contain.
And that's what I love. I love what you said a moment ago when you said every age range, every background, because isn't that how we learn? When we can tap into the wisdom and knowledge and experiences of others that may have taken similar paths or gone through different experiences. That's how I've learned in the past. So I'm excited about this year's event because the other two rocked and really served women around the world, and I loved really tapping into the wisdom of all these women. And this year I just can feel like it's going, especially because of the topic, Shann, I feel like, whoa, this is going to get deep.
Yeah, it does. It gets deep. The conversations were incredible. I always take care of the taping before the event so that we can have the very best quality, best production value. So when you listen in, you really feel like you're there sitting with us in circle in this conversation. So yeah, I'm excited, and thank you so much, Linda, for sponsoring again this year. It means a lot to me, and your support and development and helping me 3 years ago put together my very first global event. Your coaching and mentoring through the process really helped me put something together that is first class.
Oh, thank you. And it was an honor to just help you with the structure. You did the rest. You know, this is your energy, your message coming through loud and clear. And look what you've created, because it's become an event that everyone looks forward to. They know it's coming, and at this time of year, and they're like, "When is it?" And they just wait. They wait for you to announce it. So I love watching the buzz on social media when you start putting the teasers out. And when we come back from our final break, Shann, let's talk about how they can register, and let's dive deep into this conversation, because it's such an important topic. And I'll be back in a moment with Shann Vander Leek of GoddessTalkSessions.com.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
You're invited to join me and 16 of the world's female visionaries, teachers, healers, and artists for the 3rd annual Goddess Talk Sessions global event. These women are stepping into circle with me to dive deep into their personal experiences of how they learn to reclaim their voice and speak their truth. Join us for this deeply profound gathering and receive divine feminine wisdom and valuable love offerings to help you reclaim your voice and speak your truth. Step into the circle at GoddessTalkSessions.com. Beautiful one, if you're living your life by default and feeling disempowered, disconnected, and disenchanted, it's time to tap into your goddess power and use that divine energy to create the magical life of your dreams. As part of the Goddess Lifestyle Alchemy program, Creatrix Lisa Marie Rosati guides you through the 12 aspects of your life while tapping into the archetypes, the 4 elements, the divine, and practical magic. By connecting to the divine and working with universal laws, your life suddenly shifts from going through the motions and struggles to seeing divine love and purpose in all aspects of your life. If you're ready to design your magical life, Visit Lisa at goddesslifestyleplan.com for an abundance of supportive resources.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism.
Me, a cat moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, you're listening to Inspired Conversations. With me today is Shann Vander Leek of GoddessTalkSessions.com, and we're talking about everything about reclaiming your voice, how to revel in your feminine sovereignty. Shann shared some 5 powerful processes and practices that you can put into use to start really connecting with your voice and bringing it out and bringing it to life. So, Shann, how does everyone register for your event?
Very easily. All you have to do is go to goddesstalksessions.com. You'll see a welcome video and a registration box, as well as all of the information about the event, all of the guests and what you can expect to receive, and when we get started on September 18th. So you'll have all of the who, what, where, why, and when, and it'll take you under a minute to sign up, and then I'll be in touch with you mid-September before we get started and the doors open for this fantastic event.
Yay. And if I'm correct, you'll be having the Facebook group again.
Yes, we have a really popular Facebook group, and I'm so glad to see the interaction inside. And so there is, if you are on Facebook and you search for Goddess Talk Sessions, I don't have the URL because it's got a bunch of funky numbers and stuff, but the good news is when you register, there's a link to join the Facebook group.
Yes.
So if you do it that way, or if you're like, I want to be a part of that now, you can go to Facebook and just search for Goddess Talk Sessions and then ask to be a part of the group, and I will bring you on in, and you can meet several of the speakers behind the scenes. Right now I'm in the midst of a summer writing series where almost all of the women have contributed different articles around speaking their truth to the Transformation Goddess website. So you'll get to know them from several different angles, as well as all of the women who have joined us over the years and that like to participate in the group.
Well, I got to tell you, that I think watching the interaction in there and the community that builds during your events, and then that community stays throughout the year, I think that's really powerful too, Shann, because everyone gets to be seen and heard, right? They get to feel like they're part of that whole inner sacred circle that you've created.
Yes, they do. Thank you for bringing that forward.
Well, I think because so many times we have these conversations, right, whether it's this radio show or another type of event, but we want to connect, and that's what you do with your event. You bring everyone together. So I am excited. And you shared those 5 practices, Shann. So if someone is listening right now and they're saying, but I don't know where to start. Let's talk about number 1 a little more, because if we can get them to take step 1, right? So what is a way that you incorporate that practice, which is acknowledge when you've been quieted, which was like a journaling prompt? How did you start doing it? Was it morning journaling practice? How did you begin?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. Now, in my experience, it wasn't so much about keeping quiet as learning where people wished I would be.
Yes, I agree.
But for people who have been keeping quiet to keep the peace, this is where we we set ourselves I always like to set a sacred space with anything that I do, and I know you do too as well, Linda. Whether it's a place in nature, I often do this kind of work on the shores of Lake Michigan, or if I'm in my home, I light a candle, I smudge myself in the room, and I get out a journal and I start asking myself questions about, where I've been, where maybe I should have been quiet and wasn't, or maybe where I may have been quiet to keep the peace. Because certainly, even though somebody with a big mouth like me likes to share her truth, there are certainly times when I have stuffed my voice to be safe or to keep the peace. So this is where you just make this a very sacred, quiet, all about you time when you ask yourself these questions. And one of the things that we can do in this process too is acknowledge that you're working with your throat chakra. And Visuddha is the fifth chakra. This is your throat chakra, and this represents self-expression, honesty, creativity, truth. And the mantra for working with your throat chakra is I speak. I speak. And the color is blue. One of my favorite color is cobalt blue, which I find interesting. And the sound to support your throat, I cannot say throat today. And the sound to support your throat chakra is the sound hum. So if you like to meditate, or if you like to chant, you could work on chanting hum. Very similar to Om, only hum supporting your throat chakra. I recommend that you wear the color blue when you're working on your voice, a blue scarf, blue lapis around your neck if you have a blue lapis necklace to support you. And then again, that practicing humming, or if you like affirmations, create an affirmation like, I enjoy creating expression through speaking, writing, and art. Something that fits for you. I enjoy developing my truth. I enjoy expressing myself through whatever it is that you like to express yourself. And it's really an important part of acknowledging the quiet by saying, okay, I acknowledge it. Now I'm going to support my throat chakra. Now I'm going to do this piece around journaling and getting really clear about how I can make changes and use my voice even more.
That is beautiful. I love all the tips that you gave. I wrote them all down too so that I can use them, because I believe that when we do things with intention, and like you said, set this as quiet time, I think that's when transformation can settle in. If we look at it if we look at these processes as just another to-do on our list, like, well, I'm going to try this. I love that everything you just described was with such intention, so it becomes a sacred practice, right, of really tapping in.
Yes.
I could feel the sacredness as you were discussing. Like, I could see myself. I have one of those, God, I'm forgetting the name of it now. The little metal bowls with the singing bowl. God, couldn't think of it. And it has the throat chakra symbol on it, and it sits in a cobalt blue box. So I bought that regard probably 2 or 3 years ago when I was working on my throat chakra. So I love that, because I'm going to bring that back out again, because I think we can always use it, right? It isn't like, well, I'll speak my truth, it isn't like we're always there, right? We still, even if we do this inner work, layers come up that have to be released even 2 or 3 years later. So I'm going to pull that back out and put some of these practices that you shared into practice.
And I do have a quick voice exercise that I invite all of our listeners to practice as well, if there's time to share that.
Yes, we have a few more minutes. I'd love to.
Okay, so this is an invitation to claim your voice. And what I invite you to do is just hear what I have to say and then repeat after me. And you can repeat quietly, or you can repeat however you wish, depending on where you are right now listening in. And it goes like this. My name is Shann, And from this day forward, I will be heard. It's totally safe to share my voice. I reclaim my voice and stand tall in my truth.
Wow, that is beautiful. I could feel the power in it. I could feel the power. And that, to me, is something, like I could see myself. I just dropped into my body and I said, oh, I would love to do that out in nature, on my beach.
Yes.
Like I felt like that's something that I want to be outside for. I want to speak it to the divine. I want to speak it to the world. Thank you for sharing
You're
that.
welcome.
I know that that intention and affirmation will serve so many of our listeners who are with us today. As we come to a close for our conversation today, Shann, even though you've shared so much with us already, is there last piece of wisdom or guidance that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
You know, there's actually a beautiful quote by one of my teachers that I enjoy so much, Barbara DeAngelis. And Barbara says, living with integrity means not settling for less than what you know you deserve in your relationships, asking for what you want and need from others, speaking your truth even though it might create conflict or tension, behaving in ways that are in harmony with your personal values, and making choices based on what you believe and not what others believe.
That is beautiful. And that was from Barbara DeAngelis?
Yes.
It's powerful, isn't it? You know,
it really is.
As you were speaking the words, I'm like, how many times in everything that you listed in that quote do we give those things away? Right? So it's like I could feel it like pull back your power. That's what living with integrity is. So thank you, my beautiful friend, for leaving us with that beautiful quote and for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
Well, everyone, I want to be sure that you get over to goddesstalksessions.com and grab your free seat to this global event. Shann is looking forward to embracing you in the circle. It goes live on September 18th. So I will see you there. I'm excited to be sponsoring it, and I'll be tuning in for all the conversations. So until next time, choose joy, choose love, choose happiness, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living. You're invited to join me and 16 of the world's female visionaries, teachers, healers, and artists for the 3rd annual Goddess Talk Sessions global event. These women are stepping into circle with me to dive deep into their personal experiences of how they learn to reclaim their voice and speak their truth. Join us for this deeply profound gathering and receive divine feminine wisdom and valuable love offerings to help you reclaim your voice and speak your truth. Step into the circle at goddesstalksessions.com.